What's up, guys? Professor Travis Tooke here, and I'm here with my fellow black belt, good friend and instructor, Jose Llanas. How you doing, sir?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
And yeah, we're going to do a match breakdown today of your recent match with Joe Murphy, an awesome black belt that you recently competed against at the Submission Hunter Pro. And Joe actually did a really awesome breakdown of the match himself. And I thought it'd be a really good idea to kind of do the same thing, but from your perspective. And just see how you kind of approached the match, what your thoughts were leading up to it, and ultimately, how the match went. So yeah, we have the match here. We're going to kind of run through it. Obviously, you seem very confident going into the match. Like, what were your feelings at this point?
I was more going with the filling out process. It is a submission only match for the first 10 minutes. I want to go to attack the submission and maybe work a little bit more wrestling in the overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, so Joe came out strong right away. I could tell he wanted to wrestle, and so I had a good opportunity. As soon as he gave me the first fake to pull into the guard.
Okay.
And obviously he's doing a very good head control there. My objective from there is I don't want him bouncing around, so I'm controlling the legs and trying to get both legs under. But I don't know if you can see right where you freeze it here. He's doing a great job of holding me down, dropping his hips. So this is where I'm going to use my left hook, which is my left foot, to kind of guide him forward, make him lean forward. Where he loses
so right here where he's holding the head. So that was kind of slowing you down a little bit.
Yes.
And then push play here. So you're using your left leg to try to change the position.
I think that grip there, grabbing over the knee with my left hand, helped a lot.
Okay, now right there, you had backed up into what is sort of like kind of an X-guard type game. You hook the leg here, you're playing. And then there's a transition where you switch to the 50-50.
Yeah.
So kind of walk us through.
I'm using my left foot to elevate him, you see there? So he's able to lean forward, which gives me the opening to switch my legs to the opposite side. I was basically trying to stretch him out, and as I was able to release some of that pressure, I switched to what is called a double outside ashi. But right away, I'm working to get my foot into the inside, which is more of a 50-50 position.
Right. It also seemed like he was kind of working to stack. He was working to stack your foot, but you just transitioned that into this position. It kind of allowed it to come across.
Yes. He was doing a great job. My main problem there was the grip fighting. He was just holding very well. So I knew it had to be a matter of being patient. Sometimes when you get too excited for the leg attack, you tend to lose the control, and that's not something I wanted. I want to take my time.
Did you think here he was maybe looking for that 50-50 armbar, or was it more about defending the foot?
I think he was more worried about defending the foot, because if you see my left hand sort of grips over his knee, and I'm keeping him very attached to me. So in order for him to attack that armbar, he would have to release some of that pressure, move his hips around.
Now this was maybe the only time in the match where he was trying to, once he felt that he had secured his leg position a little bit more, now he's going a little bit more on the offensive, even separated your feet. I see at this point. And you're very well versed at this, but were you concerned at all here, or did you feel very confident?
I was not very concerned with the idea that it is a bait, because it's sort of still a match. So what happened, I ended up loosening up my triangle in order to create a little bit more hip movement. That's when he was able to spot that, and he started opening my lock, right, with his arm coming across. But one thing that I was doing very well, if you see my left hand comes and catches my heel, so long as you keep that heel, my right heel very tucked into my hip, it's very difficult for him to get his armpit under the toes.
Right, it's too crowded.
Yes. So that's actually sort of a bait where the only thing is Joe never committed to it. If Joe would have committed by letting go of my grip, I would have came back to relocking my triangle and then attacking the exposed leg of him. And you'll see it. You'll see him attacking my foot right there.
Right.
And then I bring my foot back over. You see? Yeah. So my heel is very tucked.
So you had to address it, but never too concerned. You always felt like you
exactly. So this is the other part about it. is that he kind of overcommitted to that side and then ended up giving me a much better hip angle. Now you see his knees very exposed and my chest is very glued to his shin.
Right, and I think the big moment there was not just you taking his feet apart, but you were, just a moment ago, you were leaned to your left, kind of dealing with your feet, and then you very quickly turned to the right, and now you were sort of dominating the angle here.
Yes, and he was doing a good job of keeping me in. But one of the biggest detail in here, if you see the triangle lock, it's mid-calf. It's not right underneath the knee.
Right here.
So yes, so what that allows me to do is be able to anchor my foot to the ground and sort of turn my knee in more into what they call like an 80-20, where it starts allowing me to face the heel a little bit more with my chest.
And you said you see how he's controlling your head, sort of making it difficult to fully commit to the foot. But I notice your right elbow already has the foot blocked.
Yes.
Making it like difficult for him to turn. Like at this point, did you kind of feel like, okay, I'm on my way to the end?
Yes, because the head control, that's where it can come very in play if you are not patient enough, right? So I knew that I had to stay in that position exactly because of what you mentioned, the way I'm blocking the foot, I'm keeping it in place. And then the triangle being my figure four being more mid-calf. Yeah. What it allows me to do is sort of do some of that lateral pressure. And me blocking his foot allows me to control his leg. So the other thing about him controlling, I think at one point he tried to go into a darce position, and that was a big mistake of him because he had good control of my head. But I think his focus should have been going back to the grip hand fighting, then eventually going back to the knee control, trying to fight the knee. That's something that I did from the beginning. If you notice, I went into the 50-50 guard. I already had control of his knee the whole time, keeping it glued to my chest. I think that's something huge in order to escape this position.
All right, let's keep it going.
Make sure you take out your pen and paper and take some notes here. But notice that Joe is grabbing onto the head, forcing.
So you still kind of got the toes chopped, but this is the point where I think a lot of people thought it might kind of stalemate and not play out beyond this.
And if you see here, my left hand sort of starts going over, blocking his foot coming over and crossing. So the exchange, you're going to see it is my left hand, I'm going to punch it back, and then he's going to lose the grip a couple times. That's one. And then my left hand is going to feed it.
Your left hand now, right in here, is grabbing for the foot.
Yes.
Correct?
And if you see here, the way he was grabbing my arm, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of whipping my arm out. So each time it comes back to grip, it's getting looser and looser. So my left hand is going to be able to push the toes up to the armpit.
Okay.
And you'll see the grip. But like you said, my right elbow is trying to block. I'm just trying to keep his leg there the whole time.
It's amazing, like I just want to point out, like how much stuff is going on that you have to really know what you're looking for to figure out everything that's taking place. Because I remember even watching it and I didn't have I can't walk around and see all the angles, so I knew you had the advantage, but I did not know really how close you were until right up to the end.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't. Especially to an untrained eye or just the wrong angle, it's hard to know how much is happening here.
Yeah.
So here is still kind of going. You're still keeping
that. See my chest being driving that pressure into his shin is huge. He's keeping his leg sort of bent. He's not able to hyperextend it and be able to put weight on it.
Right.
So he's not able to push it out. So that's a huge detail.
He can't get it turned over where he could anchor himself in a safer position.
Yeah.
So he's sort of forced to try to crowd.
And right there, I fed it over. So my left hand sort of bridges over and feeds it. Something that I didn't mention that is huge is my left hand, when he's grabbing my head, sort of feeding across, going under his armpit. So what that is going to do is going to be able to push the head control over me. Then
Is that the thing that sort of forced him to release the head because you were able to push and stretch the grips away?
I think it was more my hip elevation pushing the knee into his body. I don't know if you see the way my knees are crossed. It's not into a typical 50-50. If it was 50-50, my knee would be on the outside,
Sure.
but it's in. So with
So
that,
again, his underarm, really.
yeah, and it's coming across. And so I think the biggest mistake for him is being able to allow me to get that hip elevation and giving that lateral pressure, so then allows me to feed the toes. And it was very, very tight. So one thing I didn't want to do, and it's something that patient comes, handy on this one, is I didn't want to halfway expose the heel, go for something, twist all the way out, and allow him to rotate.
Right.
So when I went for the finish, I wanted to make sure my hips were finishing more like an arm bar. You're not going to turn into an arm bar. You're going to hyperextend it. And I did turn, but it had to do more with hyperextending the whole knee lateral.
All right. Well, now we've kind of separated. You've got it. These are the final moments. Let's finish it up here.
Right there. And if you go back, it's not the traditional
kind of a close table grip.
Yeah, so my left hand sort of came around and pushed his toes into my armpit.
Right.
And I fed it under. Then my other hand just came under, securing the position. Because in my experiences and things that I've learned is when you try to go back to the traditional, it sort of creates a gap in here and allows a person to loosen up. Instead of keeping that traditional grip where it gives the space. So sometimes you catch the heel and then you go back to this grip. You see my elbow goes back.
Right.
Carries a lot of opening there. If you lose the pressure on the toes, you're going to lose it. So I fed it, came under, and I readjusted my grip here. So that pressure stayed there the whole time.
I feel like we just need to do an instructional.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So that'll be the next one.
And that's just one position. Imagine that there's so many more variations of attacks there from control and finishes.
Well, awesome match again. 2 really high-level black belts, and appreciate you breaking it down. And I know you train super hard, and I just want to put this out there because I hear sometimes people will say oh well that guy's just a leg lock guy, or that guy's just this, and I've trained with you for over a decade, and I can attest to the fact that you're always getting better at everything. Mm-hmm. And sometimes you go right into something like, oh, well, he's a leg locker. How would he have done in this situation or that situation? And nobody knows for sure, but I know that anyone winning black belt matches at a high level typically is good at the other stuff too, and you're really good at the whole game.
Well, the strategy is going to come based on the rule set that you're competing in, right? Yeah. So this is a sub-only match. Want to go straight into the try to get to submission. Leg attacks was something that I've been working on for some time, developing. But it came from the idea that somebody mentioned to me that Joe was a leg locker. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, okay, he's a leg locker. So it's like the idea of playing with fire kind of thing. Right. So I'm like, oh yeah, I got to challenge myself there. So you've seen, I've been talking to you about the investment of learning that position, and it paid off. But I had to do more with wanting to go into something that he was good at, or I thought he was, heard that he was good at.
Yeah.
But I was ready to wrestle in the overtime. I was ready to pass guard. I didn't know what Joe was going to bring to the table. Yeah. So we just trained everywhere.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good stuff. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed this. Professor Jose, thanks for an awesome breakdown. And I think everybody learned a lot about this position and how you're able to use it in competition. And, man, we got to do more of these. This is fun.
And thanks to Joe for being an awesome opponent. The way he reacted to everything, he did an awesome breakdown as well from this technique. And I know one day he'll come back and be the champion that he is. For me, challenging myself against somebody who's as good as him, it helps my growth overall. So I really appreciate it.
Wise words from a good champ. Congrats, brother.
Thank you.
And see you guys next time.